G'day everyone and welcome to our round 2 edition of the Weekend Wrap, brought to you by Crowcast, of course. Fantastic win over the Bombers at the G, breaking our hoodoo, going all the way back to our grand final year of 2017. So lots to talk about, a full panel, a full deck of people in the studio audience. So why am I still talking? Let's just get straight into it, shall we? And here we are. How are we, people? Just shut that up. How are
Thanks,
we,
Steve.
people? Sorry, I had you on mute.
Very good.
How you going?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Very good, Macca. How you going?
Oh, just dying to get the cars going, mate. It's always good fun.
And big man.
Always good after a win, Feen.
Well, absolutely, and what a win it was. Just a word to people in listening to us live. For some reason, the road outside's turned into a freaking highway. So if you hear any road noise, I don't know why, but it's just gone crazy. Yeah, apologies if there's any background road noise. It's a bit weird. Now, big man, I'm just going to get you to speak a little bit more softly so that we're all on the same level.
And do.
Very good. All right, so we all saw the game on the weekend. I won't mess around any further, but before we crack into it, just a reminder to all those people on in the live studio audience, and we've got a good selection of people there again, as per usual. If you do have something to say and you want to come on and have a chat, feel free to do so. Just get your virtual hand up in the stage there and I'll get you on to have a chat. Obviously, our chats feed live from both Discord and YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube at the moment, get around it, have your say. And if you want your comment highlighted, then feel free just to drop a super chat and I'll get you sorted, and we'll get you. We'll talk about whatever you've got to say there. So, and what else have I got to say? Oh yeah, and if you are watching, of course, like and subscribe if you haven't already. That does us the world of good, gentlemen. We're up to 990. We're so close. 10 to go to get to the magic 1,000. Sorry,
We've got to find that other 10. We've got to find those other 10. They're missing somewhere.
Well, you blokes would have 10 in your family, wouldn't you? Just get them to... No, look, the support has been fantastic in YouTube with all our content. Fantastic around our coaches box and our preview content. So much appreciation to those who have subscribed in the last couple of weeks. I think we've had over 100 subscribers in the last couple of weeks, which is fantastic. So very grateful for that. All right. Let's get into the weekend results, shall we? No, not the weekend results. Not the weekend results. The bloody Essendon match. You're later on, Macca.
Well, whatever you want, mate. It's your show.
It was the Crows, 25-11, 161, 10-goal winners over Essendon, 15-10, 100. An extremely good win at a ground that we haven't won at for 8 years now. So that's a little monkey off the back. And look, I'll be very interested to hear what you guys have got to say about the match. I've got some thoughts, and I'm sure you have too. It was obviously a very positive result. I'm not 100% convinced yet. Macca, what were you thinking about the game?
I'm hearing you're not 100% convinced yet, situation. And I'll just very quickly, my take on the game was that whoever's organising our forward line at the moment is bloody brilliant, because the spread was outstanding. So many times a player coming into our forward line had about 3 or 4 options, not 4 of them standing together in a lump like they used to. So that was my first point that I really noticed about the game. And I thought the defence was very good and fairly tight, with the exception I thought Keane was a little bit of a glass jaw. And the on-ball brigade, well, they performed very well with the exception of, Merritt was outstanding at the centre bounces, and through him we actually lost the centre bounces, believe it or not. But overall, I have to say, if you look at the side as a total whole, we're in very good nick in terms of all players basically in form. And we had probably only a couple that didn't perform up to what they're capable of. So when you got 23 players, I mean, that's pretty good to be in that condition, that situation. I'd say we are in very good shape. But, we did allow 100 points to be kicked against us, and we didn't win the centre clearances on a net basis. So they are the points those 2 points are why I agree with you. We're not 100% there yet.
Brownie, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'd echo those comments. I think it definitely wasn't, a game based on clearances. I think it was a game played so differently to the previous week. I thought our pressure was outstanding, which I think caused the ball to turn over a lot. And I think once we turned over, I think we were using it. We went super, super quick. We were using it methodically by foot and always finding a target. I thought the use of the ball by foot was really, really good. Something we haven't really been good at over the last few years. So that was a real step forward.
Yeah.
The big thing's going to be doing it against better opposition under more pressure, because I don't think Essendon gave us any level of pressure at all. So it's easy to get sort of sucked into the the result to love and going really well. But yeah, it's going to be a bit different, I think, when we get to the Gold Coast and even North Melbourne next week, based on the way they played today.
Big man.
Loved our transition game. I thought that really stood out. The ball movement was as clean as I've seen for a long time. And I guess, what Mac was talking about, our ability to hit up forwards that are isolated. It's a lot of that is to do with speed of ball movement and how good our kicking skills were. So didn't love some of our defensive work. Obviously, we gave up the 100 points, and I think there's too many goals that were just caused by some silly errors. All it takes is one mistake in deep defence and you cough up a goal. So
and try to make the ball the ground really wide. We didn't do that so much. We were content just to be very patient and methodical through their zone. We were hitting up and hitting up short targets and sort of carrying the ball as we needed to a little bit further up the ground and getting nice deep entries into forward 50. So it was very interesting to see how we got through Essendon's positioning as compared to Hawthorn. The thing that worried me, I think, more than anything else was that for the second week in a row, we didn't really do a great job around stoppage, and we also got beaten in centre square, and I didn't think we were terribly effective in centre square. How'd you guys see that, Brownie?
Yeah, definitely. It was so different to the week before. I think maybe the hits to advantage, there are a few more last week. I thought O'Brien really struggled to put it in good areas. It's hard to know whether he takes all the blame, but he's got to take a fair bit of it. So that was a real problem.
Mate, what do you think about that?
Yeah, look, I think Brownie's pretty right about O'Brien. I thought O'Brien last week had a very good game in terms of putting the ball to advantage. Merritt read him beautifully. Merritt is a star. There's no doubt about that. And it'd be interesting to go back and see the number of takes that Merritt took off of his taps. He read him beautifully. So I think in that sense, we were a little bit disappointing. Once it became a scuffle at the centre, we were okay. But if it was like a clean break, that was more Essendon's way. And they've got a couple of other good guys as well. I keep talking about Merritt, but they've got a couple of other mids too that go okay. So, but I think Merritt was good anywhere on the whole ground. I mean, he kicked 4 goals and he had a bazillion kicks, but their other 2 mids, not so much. But I think our mids in normal play, in the transition process, I thought they did their job pretty well there. And also, when we talk about throw-ins and bounces, we did win those. So we weren't completely beaten in that particular area, but the middle we were. And, against better teams, that's where you win games and you lose games against better teams. And so we're really going to have to lift in that particular area.
Yep. Yep, agreed. People saying I'm a bit loud. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Hopefully that's a bit better. People in chat, if you can just give me a bit of an indication of whether that's a little bit more balanced. Look, big man, I don't think, and Brownie and I were saying this afternoon, I don't think we're the finished product yet by any means. I think there were some really good elements to our play, but I'm concerned that against high-pressure teams and teams like Hawthorn, who are very proactive in the manner in which they spread, that we're going to be in a bit of trouble. We relied very heavily on our marking dominance and our aerial dominance. We're very good at getting the ball outside, but if we come up against a team that puts a bit more frontal pressure on us, I don't know whether that game plan stacks up.
Yeah, it's interesting, Feen, because I think one thing I've noticed from the first 2 rounds is that our ability at stoppage to get a quick handball to runners in space has definitely improved. There's been less bomb kicking off the back foot out of stoppage, which has been great to see. Obviously, moving Laird out of the midfield probably helps with that. So that's a good sign, because I think when obviously when there's more pressure around the ball with the better teams, it would be a good litmus test of where we're at in that regard. But I think that if we are feeding the ball out to our runners, like Crouchy giving the ball out was really good on the weekend. I think it should hold us in good stead, but the proof will be in the pudding once the games start. One thing I want to ask you guys is, last week it didn't matter so much that McRae had a big game because we were so dominant at clearance, particularly in the middle, in the centre. But this week, obviously, Merritt had a basic career best game, and he's had a few of those against us. At what point do we get worried about just how much an opposition midfielder can take us to the cleaners? Because it's been a theme in the past, and I'm worried. Obviously, we don't tag, and some teams are doing it right now and doing it pretty effectively. Like even today with James Jordan tagging Caleb Sarong, they get the win over at Optus Stadium. So we seem a bit, stubborn in this regard. Do you guys think we really need to address this, or is it just, one method against the other and not worry about a tag?
Just before we chime in, mate, I'll just get you to move a little bit away from your phone or your mic or whatever it is, because you're quite loud. My personal thoughts, and I'll pass it on to you guys in a sec, is that we're particularly I expected us to actually run with their dominant midfielder. They had Durham running with ours, and I thought they might actually give a bit of a job to Peatling, to be honest with you, but that didn't eventuate. We are stubborn in that regard, Macca.
Yeah, look, big man actually stole my thunder, because I was going to raise this particular point. We were being tagged, and effectively, but we just don't do it in the other way around. And we do have a perfect tagger, but he isn't playing. That's in Bond. And if we played Bond as a tagger, and I think against good teams we probably should, somebody's got to come out of the team, and I'm not sure who. But that, because it's easy to say that we want Bond in, but who goes out? But big man's point is 100% valid. As I said, other teams are effectively tagging the best player in another team, in the other teams, but we don't. And McRae is a good ball getter, always has been a good ball getter, but his disposal isn't that good, and you put him under physical pressure, it'll be pretty ordinary and in fact, be poor. But he had quite an effect on the game.
The good thing about McRae was that he didn't play for Essendon, That was handy. You're talking about
Oh, sorry, Merritt. Sorry,
you're talking
Just a
about
men-
Merritt.
yeah, sorry, that was an absolute mental case there. Yeah. Well, McRae didn't get a kick against us, did he?
No, I didn't.
No, Merritt. Sorry, yeah, Merritt had to be tagged, and look, I would have used Peatley because Peatley wasn't having a great game himself. Probably the least likely game he's had since he's been with us, and players do have those. Sometimes it just doesn't bounce your way, but I would have used him as a tagger. But I still think there's a case for Bond against the good teams. But how do we get him in? So I'll pass that back to Brownie to have a think about.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys in terms of tagging when you've got a really dominant player. I think we saw a couple of games last year where Nick's refused to tag. I mean, look, got Dacos, chopping us up with 40 odd possessions, and had he been tagged and cut him down to 20, that makes a big impact on the game because he's delivering the ball so well. Whether Peatling would have had the motor to go with Merritt, but you probably could have got him to have a crack at it and potentially given someone else a go. So I think it would have been worth trying. But you're right there, Macca. Someone like Bond is perfect for that kind of role. The question is, how do you get him in the side?
My concern with Peatling being a tagger is that aerobically he's just okay. Like I saw the time trials during the preseason, he's about mid range. So obviously, if he's running with the best mids in the comp, they usually got massive engines. So that would be a bit of a concern. But I agree that it seems like it's been an issue for a while. It didn't hurt us too much on the weekend, but I just get the feeling like it's going to cost us if we're not careful because we don't seem to have any thought about doing it whatsoever.
Yeah, B Packer in the chat makes the point that I'm probably aligned with. Peatling was having a quiet game, and I feel like if anything else, it would have given him an opportunity to get led to the ball a bit and actually get involved in the game a little bit more. I just both the St Kilda and the Essendon games, I feel like we've played very conservatively. And look, we can't be critical. We've had two very good wins, and I guess it's an indication of our expectations this year. But it seems a very conservative start now. Whether they're just playing their cards close to their chest to start off with, or easing the boys into the season without too much complication, or what have you, I don't know. But I'm not sure whether the game that we're playing at the moment, a high skill kicking game relying on a lot of outside possession and aerial dominance up forward, the amount of ball that we got on turnover, the amount of score that we got on turnover was insane. Like I'm just having a look at the stats here, and the scores off turnovers were, what do we have? We had 17 goals, 7 off turnover. That's just not going to happen every week. We have to get our share of ball at stoppage. We have to get our share of ball at clearance. We have to be able to be dynamic in the way we move the ball. And so far, I feel like we've just beat up on a couple of teams that were maybe a little bit short on manpower and a little bit lacking in class. But I don't know whether it's the game plan that gets us, that gets us through. What do you reckon, Jeff?
Yeah, totally agree. It's I suppose it's going to be interesting coming up against the Kangaroos this week. They've got a pretty stacked midfield as well. So whether that's one with the tagging and just also the ball movement, whether we're going to do anything differently, I'll get the impression we'll just keep doing the same thing until we have to change. I think that's the way that we're coached. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we've got a plan B and a plan C because, historically, if you've only got a plan A, things don't turn out well at the end of the year.
Yeah, Vardy makes a good point in the chat. The scoreboard trumps everything, and we didn't really need to change very much. And that's a reasonable point, big man.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you ask anyone that watches us, what's our biggest strength? It's our forward line and our options up forward and the variety we have up there. And that's 2 weeks in a row now. We've kicked big scores. So we're doing something right. We're maximising our biggest strength. And that's something we didn't do last year, particularly in the first half of the season. We were far too stagnant with the ball. This time around, just fluid motion as much as possible, running handball receives. Not a heap through the corridor, but a lot of overlap run. You're right. Our ball movement hasn't been, we're not kicking into the corridor, taking big risks or anything crazy at the moment. But it's interesting. Like our forwards are so good one-on-one, whether it's our smalls or our talls, that we don't always have to open up the field with those kicks in the corridor, because generally, if the ball's in our forwards area, I mean, you saw Thilthorpe on the weekend. Every time the ball was in his area, he kept winning it and beating his direct opponent. So yeah. So look, it's not faultless, but as I said, I think we're maximising our biggest strength, which is a really important thing to do, because on paper, I think we do have the best forward line in the AFL. Maybe Geelong would be thereabouts as well, but yeah, I'm glad we're doing that rather than the crap we were dishing out early last year.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess that's what we've got to keep an eye on, isn't it, Brownie? Like coming off 15th last year, 8 wins. We've already had a quarter of that in the first 2 rounds, and we've been comfortably in control of both matches, really. So are we being overcritical, or are we being nitpicky, or we're being too negative, like they would say about us sometimes on this podcast?
Yeah, we probably are. I think being a bit negative, but I suppose we're just looking to see what potentially could be an issue down the track. But surely our coaches are doing the same thing. But I agree with Big Man in terms of our forward structure and the way we had, 3 big guys, like 3 really big guys in the forward line. And for once, it didn't seem like they were getting in each other's way. The running patterns were great. They were getting up. There was always one of them getting upfield, getting possession. I think at one point we had one play where we had Walker kicking at the Fogarty, kicking at the Thilthorpe or the Rankin or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And it just showed that they were just working really well. They were really in sync.
And
that's a massive positive.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brownie, because, I mean, how many times have we used to talk a few years ago about how much our forwards would go up for the same ball?
Oh, we'd just crowd each other.
And no one would stay down, but something's been fixed there, because it's very rare that we have too many numbers at the aerial ball, and we actually have numbers at the fall. We're not spoiling each other, particularly in the forward line. Sometimes in defence we do, but that's another story. But yeah, it's so much better, our positioning and method in the forward line. So credit to Scott Burns for that.
Yeah, 100%. Just going through some of the stats. Whoops. Look, and these are just off the AFL website, so I'll just read them out. Disposals 392 to 351. We kicked the ball far more than them, 179 to 254. They had 172 handballs to our 138. Our disposal efficiency was high again, 78, 79%. Theirs was around 71, 72. Inside 50, 63 to 48. Our efficiency was much better, 62% compared to their 52. Marks inside 50, 20 to 7. I know Gary Lyon was fapping away in the coverage about how many marks we were taking inside 50. It was just insane, the amount of, and they weren't all contested. We'll see when we go to the individuals and talk about a couple of players. Like Ben Keys, for example, how many marks did he have? I think he had 11 marks.
11.
That's he's not our tall forward. So that just shows you, that illustrates what you were saying, Brownie, that our forwards were really in sync. They were finding space. It was a very, very open forward line. And, to be able to spot up targets like that is fantastic. Clearances in the centre, 22 to 16, around stoppage, 17 to 22. Riley got beaten at ruck, 38 to 34. I thought he had a dirty day, to be honest with you. Contested possessions was even, about 126 to 127. Uncontested, though, we were about 50 up, 217 to 258. And that's really where the difference between the two play styles was. We got the ball uncontested quite a bit. We controlled the ball. Our ball security was pretty good once we had it. There were a lot of disposal chains on turnover where we were able to just basically run through. Like you said, big man, we didn't use the corridor much. We didn't switch it around much. We didn't do what Hawthorn did, which was to spread the field. We just picked through them with really good foot skills. Total marks 59 to 129 just illustrates that. Turnovers around about even. Tackles 48 to 60 our way. So when they had it, we were our pressure was good. So look, there's a lot to like in those stats. It's maybe I'm a grumpy old man. I don't know. There is a lot to like. I thought our defence was a little bit leaky. Josh Worrell didn't have one of his better games. I didn't think Mark Keane had one of his better games. Our running defenders were good. Hinge and Miller, I thought, were both very good. But our tall defenders seemed to be a little bit panicky. Macca?
Oh, I thought Murray was pretty good.
Yeah,
Murray
he was great.
Okay.
Yeah. Keane, on the other hand, that was the worst game he's ever played in our colours. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, Macca. I think you're forgetting a certain Sydney game last year.
Oh, all right, maybe he's second.
One
worst
of the worst. Let's go with one of the worst.
Yeah. I mean that, when he was going to go for that smart little run and slipped over and just handed a goal over. I mean, that was bloody brilliant, wasn't it? No, look, I thought overall the defence was reasonably good, given the fact that the number of centre clearances that they had, and that always puts a team straight under pressure. There's no doubt about that. Be right, Worrell, I thought, worked hard, but he did make a couple of boo-boos. Keane, as I said, had his second worst game he's played in our colours. But I thought Miller, it was good to see him come into some reasonably good form.
Yep.
Hingy was pretty good. Michael Annie, he's always good. So when you consider that the number of balls that came flying in from the centre, I mean, that they didn't do a bad job overall, with those, except for those that we just talked about. Just raising one point, you raised a very good point, Feen, about before about the standard of the opposition. When you have to look at the two teams we've beaten, if you look at their injury list, both teams had probably like a dozen players out or something like that. We've got nobody out. Yeah. So that's the one thing also that tempered my enthusiasm about the win. There is an old saying though: you can only beat who you play, and we did that. So I was pleased about that. But yeah, I don't think Keane will ever play that poorly again, because that really was a very bad game, I thought, by him. And Worrell, as I said, although he made a couple of mistakes, overall he did. He does try very hard, and he did some good stuff as well. So
a lot of time for him.
I think basically we're fielding as close to the best side that we can, and I feel sorry for. There's two or three players I feel sorry for. Bond's one of them. What's his name?
Nankervis.
Yeah, Nankervis is the other one, and even possibly Billy Dowling, who could develop into good players, not probably going to get that opportunity. But look, I think that we're playing well, and we should be happy with that. But I have to say I am tempering it because of who we play against. And look, I'm looking forward to next week. It'll give us a better example of how we are going.
Yeah, well, that's true. Look, just to round off this little bit of discussion before we talk about some individuals, Essendon had their two key pillars, Langford and the other bloke that I've forgotten his name, at either end of the ground. Ridley, that's right. It's not the way they score their goals, though, to be honest with you. The stats will show you that most of their goals are scramble goals. So I did feel like it was a better test, and I felt like our midfielders should walk away from that game thinking they've got some work to do, because it's not as if they got beaten up around stoppage, but they certainly got matched around stoppage. And if it wasn't for our strong rebounding and our ability to pressure them into turnover, Brownie, I mean, what do we score off? Clearances? I should be able to see that here. We scored a bit. See, we scored only 3 goals from centre bounce, 8 goals, 3 in total from stoppage. So not terrible. They scored 10 goals from turnover. That's probably they scored nearly double. They nearly doubled their score in the last quarter, and a bit of that was turnover. I felt like we got a little bit sloppy, big man, at the end there. But I don't know whether losing their tools was hurt them as much as St Kilda the previous week.
No, I mean, they anytime a team kicks 100 points, they probably expect to win, don't they? So, I think that part of that was definitely, like I alluded to before, we coughed up some easy goals. I mean, there's that free kick on the goal line with the ruck contest in the first quarter. While had 1 or 2 handballs to nobody basically, and that obviously set up easy goals, and we got a bit slack, particularly in that last quarter when there was a bit of fatigue in the game. It's something to monitor. I'll be interested to see, Brownie, what you think of our transition from the back line, because I think as a whole it's pretty good, but we still, in my opinion, lack a gun half-back flanker who can accumulate and deliver well. We seem to have a bit of an issue at the moment where Laird's a great accumulator, but obviously not that great a kick. And Miller is a great kick who doesn't really accumulate, even though he had a better game on the weekend. So I think, I was thinking to myself, well, if you put a gun ruckman in our team and an elite halfback like a Whitfield or maybe a Wanganeen Miller, maybe one day, it would make such a difference that it would complement us so much more with that ball movement. Because I think that's just something we lack at the moment, and we may need to look at getting someone like Oscar Ryan or obviously Nankervis, who doesn't get huge numbers, but he's someone who can deliver well from the half-back line. So do you have concerns about our personnel in terms of our rebound stuff, or do you think we're okay at the moment?
Well, I think you nailed it. I think we're probably just that one classy, like, rebounding midfielder short. Although I would say with Nankervis, whilst you say he's not a big possession getter, I think, as he develops, that may be, he's probably got a fair bit of potential. And he may well be an answer. But I think the problem with Laird, it's either, if it's not a high kick, it's just a little chip either sideways or 15, 20 metres forward. Miller has got, when he's right, his disposal is elite, I think, and his ability to get through traffic. But again, he probably doesn't get the ball quite as much as you'd like. But again, he's only getting his fitness and working himself back into this level. So he might continue to improve and become that player. I'm still hopeful that he can, because I think at his best, I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the two that you're talking about, Miller, and I guess put Mitch Hinge into that. Miller had 370-something metres gained. I think Mitch Hinge had 250 metres gained. I don't think we actually get the ball into those two boys' hands often enough. We actually allow our key defenders to control the kick out of defence far too often, in my opinion. And I think as a consequence, we don't get as much as we possibly could out of Hinge and Miller, because they're not utilised as much as they possibly could be. I don't know. That's just looking at the numbers. I'm surprised at the numbers for those two lads. I thought that they'd both be a bit higher.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a structural thing. Also, we don't run and carry the ball out of defence. We don't do that. We don't have that style. We're a chippy team at the moment, which is difficult to watch because it's so un-Crows-like. But not a lot of handball chains. It's a lot of kicking chains, and it's good because it's working. Albeit with, as I said before, not a huge amount of pressure on the ball carrier, but maybe that's just how our game plan works at the moment, that we don't need that running halfback because we're not running and spreading as much as some of the other teams. Mac, what do you think?
Well, first of all, you have to have that running halfback, and it's a question of whether you think that we have him or not. I know that I'd be going very, very hard to get Wanganeen Miller, and I know that Port are going to do the same. And but he's actually the type of player you're talking about, because he is exactly what you're talking about. He's one that gets the ball and he just dodges and weaves, and then until eventually he can get it and then create a chain. And he's classy. That's the type of thing we got. Nankervis, as I've said before, he's very unlucky not to be in our side, because I do like his usage of the ball, but he's not a huge a masser of the ball. So, look, I think the blokes we've got in there are good, but look, there's always room for improvement. And I think that's one area. I think our forward line is the best in the competition, and I think we're not too badly served on ball now. But I do think that if I was looking around for new players for the club, and I'm sure they're always looking for that and should be, I'd be targeting Wanganeen Miller and throwing the bank at him to try and get hold of him, because that's the type of player we really need in our back lines to always try and get the ball always into his hands, because he's usually. I watched him on the weekend, and the guy's magic, absolutely magic, and that's the type of thing we need. If we had that coming out of the defence team, we'd be very hard to beat against any side.
Well, a highly respected Crowcast regular had politely informed me that we've had an offer on the table to Wanganeen Miller for over 12 months. So
we lose Feen?
We're not. Pardon?
Maybe just gathering his thoughts.
What happened to me?
Just thinking really hard about it.
It must be so big he burst. But
what happened? Why can't you hear
are we still on, or is it in the screens?
No, we're different.
Are you back on now, Rob?
No, he's not on. We'll just have to carry on until he comes back. But I don't. Look, big man, do you agree with those comments I made about?
Yeah. No, you make a good point. It's just fascinating to me, because I mean we're going against the grain here in a few ways. We're number one, we're obviously playing a much taller forward line than some of the contenders are, and the second one is a lot of the best teams. Brisbane have Zorko, like I said, Giants have Whitfield. It's a real ploy for these teams to get the ball in a certain player's hands as much as possible. We don't seem to do that as much. It's worth noting, I guess, with the accumulation thing, is that while we have been chipping around, particularly against Essendon, it's usually forward chips, or at least on the 45. It's not really, going sideways or backwards across defence too often. So you're going to get less numbers and less stat padding, obviously, because of that. But yeah, it's just something I've noticed, because when I look at our team, I think, obviously our midfield's come a long way. Our forward line's great. But, is it going to be a big issue for us, particularly if teams hem us in our defence? Are we going to be able to break through if we don't have that real line breaking gun, halfback player? So just something to ponder, I guess.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Gotcha,
you're
mate.
back, Feen. We'd love to hear that rumour that you've got, mate.
I didn't. It was not a rumour. I didn't. Nothing happened here. I must have just temporarily disconnected or something. I'm not sure. No. I was just saying that one of the Crowcast faithful informed me quite some time ago that we've had an offer in front of Wanganeen Miller for a long, long time. So we're definitely we're definitely into him. It just depends on whether we've got the best offer, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's very likely that he will leave St Kilda, and because he's going to have two very big offers put in front of him, one from us and one from Port. Now I know he's got a few connections at Port, that worries me, but I really, really would like to get him, because that's the type of player in our back lines that, while he was gone, big man quite rightly point out, like a player. Like Giants, I always try and put in Whitfield's hand, for example, because the way he uses the ball, and that gets the whole team going forward and in a very organised fashion. So, yeah, we'll see how that all works out. So back to you, Bean.
Thanks, mate. Nice little segue. That's wonderful. You're really learning. All right. I thought that I'd just highlight a couple of players. Again, not necessarily the best players, but just prominent players for various reasons. Geordie Dawson, again, had a really good game. I thought we're really using him well, in my opinion. He had 33 touches, 8 marks, 6 tackles, 5 clearances, 11 inside 50s, and 775 metres gained. Just a fantastic number. A couple of other little stats. He attended 70% of centre bounces, and there was one other stat here that I thought stuck out. 21 pressure acts as well from Geordie. That's a team high, and I think a game high, actually. Yep. Only both Geordie and Matt Crouch had 21 pressure acts for the game. And considering that we we caused more turnovers and we tackled more than them, I think it's a real indicator of their work rate, something that we probably wouldn't have been known for, I guess, in the past. Brownie, our off-the-ball pressure acts, but I thought, again, Jordan played really well, and his kicking and his general positioning is fantastic.
Yeah, that was just a really rounded performance. And he didn't really go. I didn't think he went quiet at any point. It was just really consistent. I thought his ball use was unbelievable. And his marking. I think he probably missed a couple of hangers he went for, but he still took, I don't know, did you say 8 marks or something? Still took some good marks.
Yeah, 8 marks.
Yeah, so and he fed the ball into the 50 really well. Again, I think he was helped because it was the most open forward line I think I've seen for so long. There were quite often times when we were coming into the forward line where we were dropping our eyes for a change, and he obviously is one of the best at that, but he had more than one option, and they were basically just running on a solid lead, but they're, as long as the delivery was there, just a soft kick in front of them, they just ran onto it. So yeah, but yeah, on Dawson, just great game. From a possession point of view, but also from a leadership point of view, he just led from the front.
Big man.
I'm not surprised. I mean, about those numbers you throw up, Feen, about the his defensive work. He just does it all, doesn't he? And even though he's not a massive contested player, he's very good with his pressure acts and his tackling. His tackles really stick. So he's such a well-rounded player. There's a couple of kicks early in the first quarter. I was like, maybe he's a bit off, but no, he got it going pretty quickly, and he's one with a few of our guys that just have that capacity to change the dynamic of our ball movement. And not only that, but also if he's on the receiving end, he's such a good bailout kick because he's such a good mark. So I love the fact that we are playing in predominantly midfield, but we are still moving around because obviously he got a bit of attention from Sam Durham on the weekend. So I wouldn't say he's untaggable, but he's getting to that stage where he's a really hard matchup because he's getting better as a forward. And obviously, if worst comes to worst, we can chuck in a halfback too, which makes it really hard to sort of clamp him down. So he's had a great start to the year. I don't know if he gets the 3 votes or not, but he go close, and good start to this Brownlow night as well.
I think Brownie, it'd be hard not to give him the 3, even though Zach Merritt was probably the best player on the ground, simply because of the winning margin, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the umpires were fair, Zach Merritt was the best player on the ground, the most influential. He got his own ball, but rarely do you see umpires give 3 votes to someone on the losing side. So on that basis, you'd expect that Geordie probably gets the 3.
Yeah. Patrick Cripps might get the 3. He tends to get the 3.
He only has to run the oval,
chat. Yeah, look, he was really good. And he's just Captain Reliable, isn't he? And he will go close to the Brownlow this year, I'm sure of it. If our form continues the way it has, he will go close to winning a Brownlow. Ben Keys,
Yeah.
22 touches, 11 marks. Macca scored 4 goals too. Probably should have had 6, to be honest. 10 score involvements, 6 inside 50s and 435 metres gained. Just shows you how hard he worked. It was nice to see him back in some form and benefiting from a very cohesive forward line, mate.
It's hard to think that he and Hinge were both discards from Brisbane, that we picked him up for nothing as discards. I mean, he's probably close to being the third best on the ground. He's certainly in the best 5, and he could even be possibly Merritt and Dawson, obviously vying for 1 and 2. But he's probably the next most influential player on the ground. That's an outstanding effort for a guy who you would think has got limited ability compared to a lot of other players, but his work rate is so great, and he's improved his kicking. He's about 300% because he was a pretty poor kick when he first came to us. And I think he's worked on his game, and he's turned himself into a very, very good player. And he is a great link man. He works very, very hard as a link man, but he also loves getting back near the goal so he can kick a sausage as well. And he can take a turn in the midfield as well. He's turned into a very, very good footballer, and I was very, very pleased with his game on the weekend. You agree, big man?
Yeah, well summed up, Macca. He just knows where to run. He just finds space. He's a guy that grew up playing mostly midfield. He has great forward craft in terms of his positioning, and obviously his work rate as well would help with that. One thing I noticed too at training as well, he is definitely the one who works on his goal kicking the most. And I think he had to, but he really does a lot of extra work. And I know there was an absolute pie that he kicked a goal.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of practice to kick a goal like that. That's adding to the degree of difficulty that is.
It was an absolute sack. Apart from that, he's obviously kicks the 4 goals, but his set shot routines improved a lot. He's one of those players that just works so hard in his craft, and he elevates himself, above what his talent level should allow because of his work rate and his ethic.
What I've noticed, Brownie, is his ability to work through stoppage. I noticed it against St Kilda a couple of times. He'd just pick a lane and he'd just burst through. And he did it again against Essendon and kicked one of his 4 goals. He's fantastic at forward stoppages. Him and Tex work well together, and it's one of his big strengths.
Yeah. And on top of that, I even reckon his work rate up the ground. He got up the ground a lot. I reckon he took 4 or 5 marks around the centre or just sort of half back to relieve pressure. And, then 2 minutes later, he's back on the forward line, kicking a goal. He just runs so hard. I know he had a bit of a, quieter, more questionable game last week, and a few people were, asking if he should be in the team, but his absolute fierce competitiveness is what we need. And yeah, when he's going 100%, like he's the guy that inspires everyone else.
Now, before we get on to our third guy, we have Animal on standby. Welcome, mate. How you going?
Good, Feenix. How you doing, mate?
Very good. What were your thoughts, mate?
The thing I wanted to talk about actually quickly was that draw. But just quickly before I get into that, how good is it to finally see like an awesome attacking style of football again? It's really fun to watch, and like after these last few years, it's been experimenting with horrible defensive styles at times and trying to win games by just sort of choking up the play, and it's been a little bit shit to watch. But all of a sudden, we've seen this forward line develop, and I think they're really starting to click. It's been good.
It's a lot more fun to watch when you're actually scoring, isn't it? Instead of trying to stop the other team from scoring.
Hey, but the thing I put my hand up for was our draw. I'm sure you guys have looked at it, but I think our draw is an absolute gift. I really do.
Oh, 100%.
And if you go through it, and if you want to be sort of glass half full, if you're sort of doing what I think most of us are doing and hoping we're going to sort of come out of the blocks a bit this year and look a little better with some good new recruits and all that sort of stuff. I think we've plugged up some holes. I think it's hard to argue that. But, I think we can win 15 games if everything goes well this year. I really do. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Wow.
Do you want to go through this quickly with me? We've got a couple of minutes left.
That's top four.
Honestly, if you want to be a little generous, we could be 5-1 after 6 games. What do you think? Does anyone agree with me on that?
That's
well,
possible.
you're talking the right bloke, mate.
Everything goes well.
I always go early, mate, as you know. And
Mrs. Mackey
I've already
telling us that.
Look, don't get me wrong. Injuries are going to come, and things might not go so well. But if we keep playing the way we're playing, we could be 6-1 after 5-1 after 6 games.
Well, I'm not going to be as specific as that, mate. But I did say before the season started, we'll be at least between 5th and 8th. Now I may have to go upwards again, but look, I am very optimistic. But we have to be. I'll stick with 5th and 8th this time, mate. I think you're being a little bit over optimistic because you're not allowing for things to go wrong, injuries and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course, I definitely am. Yeah. I'm assuming like things tend to go pretty well, but like the reason I'm saying that is because I think we play a lot of away games against teams that we should be able to beat away, and we play a lot of home games against better teams.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That we can potentially win, and that's I think that's big. That's a big part of the whole thing. What I'm saying, I think this draw is a gift. It really is.
I think
it's not just about who our double ups are.
Yeah, I think we play Richmond at the MCG, which I think is a great result because it'd be fun to play them at Adelaide Oval, but I think we're going to get them at a really good time when all the kids are pretty tired in the middle of the year and we get to chalk up an away win there, hopefully. And I think we play West Coast at Optus, which is another good one because that should be another game we should be looking to win. So you're right. Like it's one of those things, if we lose next week, then we all look a bit silly, don't we? So, but
I don't.
I think in terms of difficulty, that Gold Coast game in round 4 looks the hardest.
Yeah,
mainly because Gold Coast.
That's going to be the trickiest one. Yeah. Not only that, like if you look at it, we've had this perfect soft run up to tougher games. Like really, the first really hard team we play is GWS in round 6, and it's sort of like North Melbourne, Gold Coast, Geelong.
Hang on. Gold Coast at Gold Coast is not going to be an easy game, mate.
No, you're right. It won't be. But I think it's a game that we can win if our confidence is high and we go in there and really have a go. I think we can win that game. It's not a game that's out of our reach.
Yeah, and if we win that game, I see that as a bit of a litmus test. That particular game, it's just presumably. But see, let's presume we beat North Melbourne. That is a presumption because they played very well today.
They did, yeah.
But if we assume that we do beat them, and then we're going in undefeated, that will be very much a litmus test. If we win that particular game, I'm going to come out and say Animal 15 wins is correct. So,
that's my ceiling. That's definitely my ceiling. I think that's if all goes well, we could get to 15 wins. But yeah, we'll see. That might not even get us top 4. You never know.
Look, I think I think we're benefiting from a very, very healthy list. Some good additions, like you said, just to even out our team. A pretty favourable draw. We do have a few tough games, like Collingwood at the G as well, and Sydney at Sydney. So it's not all, but we do play teams like Carlton, etc. at Adelaide Oval, so that's handy. But that's what.
And those are games we can win. We tend to beat them here.
Yeah, definitely. So look,
even Geelong here, we can beat. I think we can beat Geelong here.
Well, if they lose Stewart to a PCL, is that been confirmed as a PCL yet, or do we know?
It's been confirmed as a PCL, but I don't think we know how much the damage was done.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I'm just going to leave it at that. Anything's possible, Animal, and I love your optimism. And you're definitely right. It is fun to watch a team that's attacking and playing with intent rather than a team that's just trying to minimise the damage.
I'm starting to think, if you've got the best forward line in the comp, why wouldn't you try and have a shootout? That's what I reckon.
It's a good point.
Why not?
It's a very good point.
Let's have our forward line against your forward line. See who wins. I reckon we come out and we win most games.
Yeah, the Malcolm Blight principle.
And we've got a better midfield for it now. Like, it's pretty clear that these new players that we've got they've managed to cut out a little bit of deadwood, and we need to cut out a little bit.
Well, I must say, I personally think that the sides that have played the best consistently have been those that have strong rebounding games, and Geelong comes to mind. Richmond in the heyday used to just run the ball from halfback and rebound and just scrap it forward. A strong rebounding game is a solid basis for a successful side, and it looks like we've got that, and we've got the forward line to kick to. And what I was going to say about Geordie Dawson, one of his great strengths is that he can get a kick in from just forward of centre, but because of the length of his kicks, they turn out to be quite deep entries, whereas some of our other blokes that only kick it to like 40 or 50 out, he can get it into that 25 to 30 metre out zone because of his leg. And, again, that either you've got, as we saw a few times, the tools pushing up and the ball going over the back to the smalls like Benny Keys, or we've got, that situation where one or two have stayed back. So we're very versatile in that regard, and blokes like Dawson and Hinge really assist in that. So, mate, there's a lot of reasons to agree with you. It's just round two.
I know I'm definitely going early, and it's like lids off though. Yeah, lids 100% off. That's been my gift of the week. It's the bin lid coming off.
Animal all the way, mate. Go early, mate. That's my motto. Go early.
Fuck it. You look like here at the end of the season.
Love it, mate. I'll move you back. Thanks for coming on.
Nice.
And there you go. If anyone wants to come and have a chat, that's how easy it is. And you have to match that optimism, because Animal he's a long sufferer like the rest of us. So he's probably just thinking, what is this new team that I'm barracking for?
Who are they?
I believe that's called tempting fate, Finn.
Well, the annoying thing is my desk is made of glass, so I can't even touch wood. I've got no wood around me. Someone do it, please. All right.
Just done it.
You held fire very well then, Jeffrey. Well done.
I did, didn't I?
You did.
It was tough.
Now, the third person I introduced, just for one of our favourite audience members, NT Rabbit, I thought we'd have a chat about Matt Crouch. Sorry, Rabbit. 32 disposals, 7 marks, 7 clearances, 10 score involvements, 13 contested possessions, 8 tackles. Credit where it's due. He's had a couple of good games to start off the season.
I reckon he's had a great season so far. He was good in the pre-season. What I do like about it is that his handball is it's been very incisive. It'd be interesting to run a check over what his efficiency rate is, because we've seen in the past before that he does a lot of handball in previous years to people in trouble. But I thought he's been using the ball well this year, and actually also not bad by foot as well.
His disposal efficiency was over 90% from sorry, mate, to finish that off, 13 kicks, 19 handballs.
Yeah, well, that's an incredible figure, and that's something that I been thinking this year, that he's compared with other years, his disposal has been excellent. And look, when a guy does that, he certainly, well, put it this way, he certainly deserves his place in the side. He's a player that will always be a topic of debate, that some people won't like him, and because of his style and the way he plays, using a lot of handball. and there'll be other people who think, well, he's a very vital member of the side because he actually gives it to other people who are better kicks than he is, and or in a better position. So it's the way you look at it. I'm in the category where I think that he stays in the side while he's playing like he is, and if he,
can someone in the audience just do a health check on NT Rabbit? He seems to have fallen over. So I think overall, he's always been a subject of controversy year by year, but with the players we've got around him at the moment, he's got somebody to give the ball to, which makes a big difference. Look, I think that's the key, Brownie. He's a cog in a wheel, and he's playing a role, and it's not all inside, but it's very much a distributor role. I feel like he's being a little bit more adventurous with his ball use by foot and proactive by hand. So it's not the stodgy Matt Crouch that we're used to that just sort of stat pads. I feel like he's part of that engine room with a specific purpose. Is that how it looks to you?
Yeah, definitely. I've been probably a bit of a critic at times in the past, like most of us.
We all have, mate.
But I think what Macca said about his handballs are a lot more proactive, but I do think that's because we've got better running patterns in the middle, and he's finding people that are free. But even his kicking, I think, instead of chipping it sideways or just bombing it forward and the ball comes straight back, he's been finding a player 30 metres away, not trying to kick it 50, but kicking within his limitations. But again, I think that's because there's been a lot more options when he looks forward than there was last year. So I just think we're giving better options all around the ground now, and he's probably benefiting from that.
Now, to balance this out, Merritt was probably his man, and Merritt got 24,000 touches. Matt Crouch still has a couple of things that he does. He does hold the ball up in transition a bit, although that doesn't seem to hurt our current game style because we are methodical rather than fast running. And he does, I noticed it last week, I noticed it again this weekend, he does feel for body contact and prop over the ball at times rather than run through it. So don't worry, Rabbit, I haven't fallen off the wagon. But I think what he's to me it comes down to we're using him effectively and he's fulfilling his role effectively, big man.
Yeah, and credit to Matt too, because I think you can see there's more urgency in his game, particularly in transition. When we were getting frustrated with him a few years ago, it was because he'd get the ball, take a mark, and he would wait and wait and wait, and a lot of the time he would just kick a 35, 40 metre high ball in the air, and he would to a contest, and it would just be so stodgy. But he's come a long way in that regard. I must admit, I'm an unabashed Crouchy fan, so I'm a bit of a fanboy. But the thing with Crouchy too is that, and this is something, keep an eye on this when you watch us play, because it's so evident, and he's gotten better and better over the years, is that he is so good at absorbing the tackle and not releasing willy-nilly with the handball. He waits and waits and turns his body whilst being tackled to make sure he can get that handball out to someone behind him. It's such an important skill because he doesn't cough the ball up, or rarely coughs the ball up in dangerous areas. He's so good at timing his release and not panicking when he's getting under pressure or he's getting tackled and coughing the ball up to the opposition in dangerous areas. He will always try and wait that extra half a second to release to an outside runner, which is such an important thing to have. And I think that's why we need him in the team at the moment. Obviously, we have some midfielders coming through, and hopefully, one day, Sid can provide that. And obviously, he gives us more with his offensive run. But I got no question on Crouchy's place in the side at the moment. He's playing great.
I think you just
good summary.
I think you went a bit overboard there, big man.
I can't help myself. So I'm a big fan. I think, yeah, he's so.
I agree with you, mate. I agree.
He doesn't fumble, and if you're a midfielder who doesn't fumble, you're halfway there, because it's such an important thing to have clean hands. So,
I like it.
See, the good thing we've probably got on if you guys aren't looking at the screen, but on the screen we've got two on the left that are going all right at the moment, and we've got two on the right that probably back in the day would have had Matt Crouch duffel coats. There's probably people listening to this podcast thinking, "What the freak's a duffel coat?" Go back and Google.
Good on your feet.
Duffel coats and desert boots, and oh my god, let's just move on. Look, there are a couple
Remember
of
them
others
all.
just as we finish this up, a couple of other notables. I thought Jake Saligo was really good. Very
he's
creative, copped a bit of a hit at one point, and I thought for a moment he might have had a bit of a head knock, but he bounced back quite well. He had 27 touches, 15 and 12. I thought he was very good. Look, I also thought that Rankin would have probably pushed close to BOG had they decided not. All right, let's just go around the room on this one. Mako, what did you think about the decision to manage Rankin this week?
Good decision, a very good decision. Because when Rankin's done his hamstring, it's usually not early in the game. It's usually later in the game, like late third or fourth quarter. So the game was ours. We had very good margin, good percentage. Why risk him? And I thought it was a brilliant decision to take him off, actually.
Brownie?
Yeah, after that run down the wing into the forward 50 where he kicked that goal and he was pushing it, I was watching that thinking, oh no, don't do it again, worrying about that hamstring. So I agree, really, when there's nothing on the line, we've got the game iced, save him up. We're not going to be doing that if it's against a good team and it's, there's 5 points in it in the last quarter. We won't have the luxury to rest him, but I don't think it hurts to manage your players early in the year. So I had no problem with it.
Large man?
Yeah, if you look at his running action when he's going full pelt, it's very smooth, but it's quite. He actually has for a short guy. He actually has quite long strides. He doesn't have that like Ben Keys. Like when Ben Keys sprints, he really looks like he's sprinting. Do you know what I mean? But when he takes those quick short steps.
Bloody on quicksand or something.
But when Rankin's doing it, he actually takes quite long strides, almost as if he's jogging. And I can imagine that puts quite a lot of force and pressure through his hamstrings. So you're right, when he had that shot at goal, which is a great goal, obviously, you do cringe a bit because you're like, oh, we've seen this before, and that's when he tends to just go that a bit too hard and pull the hammy. So I think it was a good call. Obviously, we had the ability to do that. Usually in footy games, you don't, because either you cop an injury or the game's a bit closer than that. Take your opportunities when you can. He's someone that I think when you look at our players that we need to make sure we keep as healthy as possible and as fresh as possible, he's right up there. So it was good. I don't know if that was a Knicks thing or a Murray Davis thing, but it was a great idea.
Yeah, look, I didn't mind it. It's probably a bit of a worry that we have to manage him because it means that it's still a point of weakness in him physically, and you'd hate to think that at some stage he's going to ping it. But I think it was good player management. Obviously, the game allowed us to do that again, and I think it was the right call personally. Look, the other person that I thought played really well again was Joshua Shelley. He just looks like he's completely zoned in at the moment. He's completely mentally in the zone and in the pocket. He's playing for the team. He's kicking good goals, but he's also doing the team stuff as well, getting up and down the ground. And I thought his game again, Brownie, was pretty solid.
Yeah, I thought he was, again, 2 weeks in a row. I thought his body language is so good this year compared to last year, I think. And this week it was, 8 marks, which is, he's been, one of those guys that has dropped a few pretty easy marks, and I think he pretty much took all of them on the weekend. And when he does that, he's then the complete footballer. So yeah, I think if he can just keep on this trajectory, he's going to become an extremely valuable small forward. Eddie Betts-ish if he can keep going like this.
And did get
And
a centre bounce attendance too. I think it was just the one, might have been two. But it was good to see him just get a little cameo in there. I think that was once Ranks came off. He was probably doing a bit of a split with Draper. What do you think, Mac?
Yeah, can I make? I want to make one comment about Rochelle. Brownie summed it up very well. I thought, he had a great game, and I'm talking about a really great game. This was Rochelle that we first drafted, loved playing footy, and at his best. And what I did love about it, he celebrated when he got goals. And said, last year he'd obviously been spoken to about to calm it down and all the rest of it. And to me, it just lost a lot, and I think it affected his form because he's thinking about that rather than he's got one of those temperaments where he loves to explode with joy when he's done something great, and to me, he was doing that on the weekend, and when he's doing that, his form is good, and I just absolutely loved how he played, and I thought his game was great. And I loved his celebrations. It means he's in a very good place with the game, and in a very good place with his form. And he certainly won't get told off for that particular type of celebration. Not like the teeth one, but the guy liked the teeth one, but nobody else did. So, but having said that, really it was great, wasn't it? Because he could see the man was loving playing footy again. Back to you, Feen.
Thanks, Macca. Oh, that's fantastic. Look.
Can I just chuck something in there, Feen?
No, he threw to me, big man. Bloody hell. No, go on, mate. I'm only kidding.
It's just one thing about Josh too is that obviously we know his soccer background, but it's not typically or historically been a sport that really converts much to footy. For whatever reason. I usually think of basketball. Obviously, that's a pretty known one, but cricket as well, in terms of clean hands and everything. But Josh is definitely right up there in terms of a player that actually incorporates his soccer ability into footy. We saw that last week with some of these goal assists, that particularly that one that went to, I think it was Isaac Cumming in the goal square. And again on the weekend, he nearly flushed a goal from out of thin air, just with a soccer kick. Just went to the right-hand side. But it's just something that unique about him. And he uses it. He's not afraid to do it. Sometimes it looks a bit silly, but most of the time it comes off. And, it's just something I've noticed that I think that's a good little point of difference for him. Obviously, he's got other attributes as well, but yeah, it's exciting to see what he can do. I think we'll see more of that. He's going to kick some pretty ridiculous goals like Modra did back in the day. And, Mods had a soccer background as well. It can help sometimes.
Mods kicked some insane soccer goals. People, I think, forget just how good he was off the deck. Brandy, one thing I will say, and it'll probably really annoy all the soccer fans out there, but I think last year Josh Rochelle was a soccer player playing football, and this year I think he's a footballer. I think that soccer background at times can work a bit both ways, and I felt like last year he felt for contact and was trying to do Larry stuff and all that, whereas this year he just seems to be playing the percentages, doing the 1%ers, and just playing a harder, more intense style of game. Would you agree with that?
I think the key is definitely his intensity, and his defensive work is resulting in opportunities to score as well. I find myself in really uncomfortable territory when I'm speaking about him so glowingly, because I was a pretty big critic last year. But credit where credit's due. He's just a different person. Like I said before, his body language, his forward pressure, and even his work rate. I think he's consistently working harder this year. It's been fantastic. And
of course, we had to. Sorry, go on.
Oh, you're right. Go.
No. You finish off, mate.
I was just going to say, probably last year the over celebrating annoyed the hell out of me, but my attitude this year is I'm happy with the celebrating as long as he's doing the hard things at the other end.
I think that's the key, isn't it? You want it to be justified. not just
Yeah.
Lairising. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want him kicking one goal in a game, going off celebrating when he's done no hard work.
Yeah.
But if he's doing hard work, he can celebrate every goal that he kicks.
Yeah, he had a pretty good stats line. I mean, he kicked 4 goals too. I mean, that kind of went under the radar with Benny kicking 4 too, but he had 4-2 from 16 disposals, 326 metres gained as well. So he worked hard and got good reward for his efforts. So well done him. The last person, just quickly, is Riley Thilthorpe. Have you ever seen a bigger bloke? I mean, I think about blokes like Dean Cox and those sort of unusual players that are tall but are agile, but I don't think I've ever seen a bloke play like a medium-sized footballer at 200 centimetres and Riley Thilthorpe. He's insane. That take and give that he dished in the last quarter to give Solly his goal, that was the play of a 190 centimetre player, not a 202 centimetre player. Mate.
Yeah, I actually saw him play as an under 14, and he was a giant as an under 14. But he would.
Were you then about 80?
900. Well, I'm 99 now, so yeah.
What
do you think I am? Yeah. No, I saw him play when he was about under 14, under 15, and he had the skill of a rover at that stage. I mean, he just was. You knew he was going to be a star, and because he just didn't do what a big man did. He could do what a little man did. He was just outstanding, and he's still got those ball skills and the reading of the ball, all the rest of it. We haven't seen the best of him yet. I mean, he's developing in front of us as we watch, and like I think he got a real knock of confidence last year. But he's come back this year, and he's really come back strong and physically strong. He's still got his skills, and I think he'd be an absolute nightmare to stand because he's tall. He is tall, but his movements are that of a guy much smaller than him. So he's a player that not many clubs have got a player that can be anything like him. No. And I know in his draft year we were saying we really needed a full forward, so maybe we should have taken the other bloke. But
yeah,
turns out Thilthorpe is the full forward bloke we really needed.
Peter J was definitely right on that one. Brenny, the one the one thing that really stands out to me about Riley that goes unnoticed by some is his follow-up work. And he had on the weekend, he had 10 contested possessions. 8 of those were post clearance, so there's secondary possessions that he got in contested situation after a stoppage. His ability to stay in the contest and actually turn into that that classic 4th midfielder or 5th midfielder or whatever is just insane. And he had 8 inside 50s to go with his forward line work. So I mean, part of me wants him to be in the ruck, and part of me just thinks like just send him out on the ground and off you go, Riley. Just run around and get the ball.
Yeah, I'm happy with him doing what he's doing. I like him having a little chop out in the ruck because his ruck skills. I think his basketball background makes him just a natural in the ruck, but it also means his below the knees work in the forward line where he can get that handball out.
Oh, yeah.
Or that one where he did a 180 and I think he laced out Crouch or someone. Guys his size, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, Keys, sorry, yeah. That's what I meant. Guys his size don't do that. They're very rare. And the other thing is his running capacity. I think they said he was in the top 2 in
top
time
2 or
trials.
3 in the time trial, yeah.
So he's got himself incredibly fit. He's big and imposing and will always get the biggest, toughest defender. And the other great thing about him this week, he actually took a couple of contested marks where the week before he was getting his hands to the ball but not holding them. And this time they stuck and they were good. There was a couple of really good marks where it was a real contest and he held them. And then other times he just presented and on the lead. So it was a really well-rounded game. Yeah, I think he's definitely on the improve, but I don't know where the ceiling is. He could be anything.
Mm.
Yeah, he could be a
Agreed.
generational player, just like Horn Francis was. Will probably be Port Adelaide's generational player. So I don't know. I reckon I'm happier with Big RT at the moment. Just one final little one before we move on. Dan Curtin, I thought, showed a lot of good signs. Big man this week. Got up and down the ground. They really played him in that utility role this week. At times he was up forward. At times he was coming off the back of the square. At times he was on the wing. And just a couple of marks that he took and a bit of physical work that he did. It looked like he got a bit more involved this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak about Dan in one sec. Brownie, I'm just going to be a nerd for one sec. And his actually background is actually ice hockey with Riley Pilthorpe. So his dad was actually a really good ice hockey player internationally. So I know that's a weird background to have, but I don't know how that correlates to his AFL.
I think Scott
ability,
Pendlebury was a nice hockey player too, wasn't he? As well as a basketballer and a tennis player and a soccer player.
Did Pendles play basketball?
Apparently.
I think someone would have mentioned that.
I think Brian Taylor might have once said it. I'm not quite sure.
Just once.
Yeah. Anyway, go on, mate.
But
I
bet Dan. The ice hockey thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's reason. It's sort of not common knowledge by any means, but around his draft. Around his draft year, there was a bit of talk about that. It's just because it's a weird, thing to have as growing up. It's not your typical sport, especially in Australia.
No,
but
it should get a bit more competitive when it gets colder. Then hopefully, I'll have a real advantage.
That's a good point. The thing about Dan is, I just thought he looked really confident out there. I think he's getting a few early touches made a big difference. He was a bit cold in the first quarter against St Kilda, but I thought he had a really good start to the game against Essendon. And, because obviously the size of that ground, he was able to find some space pushing up on that wing and took a nice grab early and took another one late. His kicking was beautiful, and that's something that he does have. He's got a really nice feel for on his kicks. He weights them really nicely. Yeah. And he's clean on the deck too. That give to Miller got him in the game and got us in the game. And it's just bits and pieces at the moment. I don't think we can expect too much more. Hopefully he has a breakout game at some point. But he's doing his bit, and he definitely stays in the team for the short term anyway. After that game.
Oh, 100%.
What did you think?
In question.
Yeah. What did you think, Brownie? Where do you prefer to see him? Do you like him up forward, or do you prefer him on the wing? Because he played quite a bit on the wing as well.
After the weekend, I'd actually love to see him on the wing and just a bit like, floating up and having a kick in the occasional goal. But he moves really well for a big guy. He's really silky the way he moves, and the way he kicks the ball. I think he could be an elite kick. That goal that he kicked was just did not deviate. It was just beautiful, and it was easy. It's just got a beautiful kicking style. I'm bullish about him. I think he's going to become a really, really good footballer. I think it's just time for him and opportunity, not bloody dropping him after 2 games and then, playing him at the back of the season. We just got to stick with him. And the big guys, like Rob always says, the big guys take, 3 or 4 years to develop. You can't expect them to be the finished product at the start of their career. But he showed so much on the weekend. It was fantastic.
Another thing about, sorry, Dan, I'm sorry, Mac, I didn't want to interrupt you, but just another thing about Dan too is that, I don't get those Mackesy vibes from him.
No,
he's one of the most energetic at training. He's very vocal around the boys and supportive. He loves a high five. And, in terms of a bit of big footy stuff, but C4 your door said he's very settled and loves living in Adelaide. So, and he would know he's very in tune. He's a Carlton poster, and he's very good in the know. So that's great for us. That Dan obviously enjoys living in Adelaide. It seems to suit his mindset and way of life, and that's big for us because obviously we don't recruit too many WA players. And I know we took O'Connor a couple of years ago, but before that it was McGovern and Cameron, and they both ended up leaving. So hopefully he sticks around and yeah, the signs are good early.
Yeah, what I liked is it wasn't a breakout game completely, but what I thought was a semi-breakout game in the sense that he's normally been like he's been playing as if he's the extra player out there and waiting for them to look for him. I thought in this particular game he did present himself several times that they had to kick to him, which is different to her. The difference being that he had the confidence to do that, and particularly that goal he got, for example. He presented himself and he called what he wanted it. And that's the one thing that when you're a young player and you go in there and you've got all these stars around you, it's very easy not to be the one to call for the ball because you're the lesser player. But I thought that this particular game, I thought he saw himself as one of them, and I reckon he's only going to get better each week from now on. I just think he's getting a lot of self-belief is the word really I'm looking for. Self-belief, and that he belongs at this level, and he, the way he celebrated after he got that goal, he just went berserk. You can see he just went right off the planet. He was so happy about it, and that really supports what you were saying there, big man. Yeah, but I think the guy's going to be a very, very good player, and I think he's just going to, from now on, I think he's just going to develop week by week.
Well, when you think about it, thanks, Mac.
You told me you got to throw it to somebody.
Yeah, I know. Oh, mate, you make me laugh. I think, like, when you think about it, we've got a 197 bloke who's playing running roles. He's not a KP. He's, we're playing on a wing. We're playing him as a lead up forward. We're playing him off half back and all that sort of stuff. When we talk about the tools of Thilthorpe, and then you look at Dan Curtin, and you think, we could have two of them. We could have two blokes that are essentially play a bit like Mark Blitzarst, for God's sake. With great skills above their head, great skills at ground level, big engines, built like tanks. I mean, that's so invaluable, and it's great to hear that he's happy in Adelaide. And I don't think he'll have a breakout game this year, Mac. I just think it'll be a slow burn with him. He'll just continue to learn the systems, and he'll continue to get involved, and slowly but surely he'll accumulate possessions, and he'll have more moments in games, and I think that's how it'll be for him, and I'm quite happy for that.
I think that's a very good summary of it, actually. It'll be that he, as I said, he'll believe that he belongs at this level and get the self-confidence, and he'll just keep presenting himself more and more as he did in this particular game. So, I think you're right, and he'll just keep adding to that each week.
Just a lot of people knock him, and it's just like, what are you talking about? He's so green. People want him to be a superstar straight away. How many blokes have entered the AFL and been a superstar in their first 3 years? I can count them on probably one hand. Nick Dacos.
Yeah, so you have a look at it. Look at the side of him, Feen. I mean, he's exactly. What is he? Is he 197? I think he's 197. Yeah, and and he's 18 or 19. Say he's 19. He's 187.
Apparently he can bench 150 kegs. That's 2 lucky shoulders. Right. It's a lucky shoal in each hand.
It was. That's true, I think, Feen. But look, he's really raw, and he's playing against the big boys, and he's 19. He's got a big body. He's got to adjust to the speed of the game and all the rest of it. No, he'll get there, and he's doing it bit by bit, and he's not going to go boom. And I think Feen described it very well how he's going to do it. And I think next year we'll end up with a very, very good player.
Yeah. All right. So we will talk about next week at the end. But before we do, just a reminder: if you're on the in the studio audience and you want to be like Animal and have your say, then feel free to stick your hand up and we'll get you on. We've got probably Probably about 10 minutes left, I reckon. But now you boys can have a little bit of a rest, and I'll do the housekeeping, shall I?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So not a lot today. I won't bore people too much. Just as I said, get around our Discord. If you haven't already, it's a great community. The chat's always lively, particularly on game day and during the show tonight, as you can see from watching the ticker. The links for our Discord are in all our bios and profiles and descriptions and whatnot, so you should be able to find it. If you're watching and you haven't already and you are enjoying what you're seeing, it'd be great to get a subscribe from you. We're pretty close to achieving our little goal, which is fantastic, and I've really appreciated the support that everyone's given us so far this season. So feel free to give us a like and a subscribe. If you do want to support us financially, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either become a YouTube member, that gets you a little bit of early access to some of our pre-recorded stuff, and it's a good way just to flick Macca a cup of coffee every week, or every month I should say. Or else there's a couple of donation links. I think there's a PayPal Me donation link in the YouTube description, or you can find it on our website, aflcrowcast.com. The fantasy footy, I don't have access to it, so I will get, I think it's Tommy, to post those up in the channel in Discord during the week. But I do have an apology from Matt. He's at a Formula One party. Good on Oscar for getting up and pole and a Grand Prix win and beating Lando, who whinged all the way home as usual. So good on him for that. So just reading out the scores, a bit of a weird one this week with a couple of upsets. We had Maddie, Jordan, Stu and Sam on 14. We have Ben, Chris, Adam, Mike, the cast of thousands on 13. You can see it on the screen there. I had a shocker. I only had 3 this week, I think. Did I have 3? Yeah, I only had 3, so I've dropped back. So, so that's where we stand. Don't forget our tipping and fantasy leagues have prizes associated with them, so make sure you stick with those for the majority of the year. I think that might be it. Oh, yeah, just keep an eye out for the Coach's Box content during the week. I kind of got a bit of a time squeeze last week, so there's a couple of Saints ones that I've still got to put out there. Obviously going to be late, but I will put them out for completeness. This week, the schedule should be Coach's Box Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, preview on the Friday, and then obviously the wrap on the Sunday. So get around that content, and if you like it, as I said, if you haven't already, give us a subscribe. And I reckon that might be it. Why don't we head into Macca's moment of fame, Macca's weekend results?
Yep, I'll keep it relatively brief there, Feen. We
Mrs.
started
Macca says that too.
She does.
Shouldn't be divulging all this personal information.
Yes, you've been spying, Feen. Anyhow, the Hawthorn. Oh no, Hawthorn and Carlton, yeah. But no, it was a very tight game for the first 3 quarters, but then Hawthorn exerted their strength in the last quarter and made it zip and 2 for Carlton, who I would like to point out have lost 9 of their last 11 games, Feen. Not as good as they think. They beat their chest, but they're not that good.
Yeah, ever since the expectations came down on them, they have gone to absolute water, Carlton.
Yep. Collingwood and the umpires, they scraped in by 6 points against an unlucky Bulldogs. 33 free kicks to 14. And I'll tell you what. Dacos was Dacos, absolutely outstanding. 39 disposals, he's a star. Sam Darcy for the Bulldogs, 205 centimetres, 4 goals, 2. Remember that name, he's going to be a real gun.
Oh, yeah. He's better than his old
They had a
already.
really... Yeah, he is. He's going to be real. He's a star. Port had an easy kill against the youthful Richmond, 72 points. Lukosius, unfortunately, got injured, and so that means they've virtually wasted their draft pick for this year anyhow. And we took
how long is he out for, do you know?
I think he's out for the season, I think. I think he's out for the season.
Oh, what did he do?
So, well, I think he's done.
Who's this? Lukosius?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cracked his kneecap. He's got a cracked patella, so he's out for 3 to 4 months.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's all they
very
need.
unfortunate. Yeah, somebody mentioned Horn Francis before. That guy's never going to fulfil his true potential unless he stops cracking the shits on the game in a game and not trying hard. Because something went against him early. He cracked the shits, and he never really tried too hard after that. And I thought fortunately that the rest of the boys did, and they won the game. St Kilda by 7 points against Geelong. Well, I tell you, I was barracking the head off of St Kilda in that particular one. I mean, they jumped Geelong early. They got away to a 5. They got the first 5 goals of the game. You knew Geelong was going to come back. Stewart, unfortunately, hurt himself in that game too, Feen, and he's going to be out for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 3/4 time you thought, well, Geelong will get them, but they just hung on there. They just hung in there, and they got there. And I was delighted to see Geelong lose. Then we had the Lions against West Coast. Well, I'll tell you what, and for a while there, up to the first half, West Coast were in front of the Lions.
Yeah, they took it up to them all game, didn't they, really? I mean, they only lost by a couple of goals.
Yeah, I mean, they still had a 4-goal lead. They had a 4-goal lead, and then the Lions came good after half time, though, and you just looked at the calibre of the players, and eventually they hadn't done much all games. The players came from everywhere. They just ran over them in the end. But well done, West Coast, at least, for having a real crack. North Melbourne by 59 points against Melbourne. And I'll tell you what, that's probably a good start here by Melbourne.
Is Simon Goodwin under a bit of pressure?
He's under a lot of pressure. Has to be. He's got to be under heaps of pressure. It was interesting, the battle between Gawn and Zeri. And even though I've always regarded Gawn as the best ruckman, I think Zeri beat him. So I think that makes Zeri the best ruckman at the moment. I don't know what others think about that, but that's he certainly beat Gawn today. So I think that puts him number 1 in my book. It was a very tight game, but then in the second half, then the Kangaroos just ran all over them. And the further the game was going, the better they got. And they brought in a couple of experienced players like Caleb Daniel, and who was it?
Luke Parker.
That's a bloke, Luke Parker. And I mean, they've got lots of young talent around them, and both those boys performed very well, and they used the young boys around them, and they really, really look good. And don't think we're in for an easy game next week. If they bring that type of form against us, we're going to have to play at our very, very best to beat them. They look good. And the last game, I never watched it. I don't know the result, so I'll hand it back to you, Feen, and you can talk about that one.
Well, the Dockers were up for most of the game, and Sydney ended up winning by 3 points, 9-11-65 to 9-14-68. So Freo, that would be one that got away for Fremantle. They were in front for a large portion of that game. And that was Macca's version of a quick roundup of the weekend's results. Thanks, Mac. Just looking at the... Just looking at the ladder, we got the Hawks on top, Adelaide, the Giants, Collingwood with an extra game, and the Lions on 8. We've got the Suns, 1 win from 1 game. This is where this stupid bye situation. How can you have a bye in round 3, for God's sakes? Geelong on 4 points, North on 4 points as well in the 8, and then outside of the 8 we got Footscray. Can we not call them Footscray? They're the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, I don't get it. Well,
it's because it's their 150th anniversary or 100th anniversary or whatever, but they're the bloody Bulldogs. Anyway.
Can't be both. You cannot be both.
No. Sydney from 3 games, 4 points. Port on 4, St Kilda on 4, Richmond on 4, and then the lucky losers, Carlton, Melbourne, Essendon, Fremantle and West Coast, the 2 W teams yet to get off the mark. They'd be loving it, footy fans in WA at the moment. Nice to see Adelaide up where we belong again in second spot. All right,
Massive percentage too, Pete. Massive percentage.
Macca, just about that Sydney game. Keane's boy Amati kicked the winning goal to put them in front with 90 seconds to go. So, yeah, it was a close one.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's round it up. We've gone overtime tonight, gentlemen. That's because of just poor hosting on my behalf, so I'll take responsibility for that. Just a quick roundup of thoughts on the game next week, starting with you, Big Man.
Yeah, I mean, Macca talked about it earlier, but you know, they're not going to be easy to beat. I know we have a great record against North, particularly in Adelaide. I don't know. Have they even won at Adelaide Oval yet? I'm not sure, but yeah. The thing about North is that structurally they're pretty weak in the forward line and in defence, particularly their tall defenders. Charlie Comben was very good today, but he really struggled last week, so he is vulnerable. But their midfield is very strong, and they've got great runners who love to overlap and receive, and they've got pretty good ball users like Sheasel and Colby McKercher and others as well. Caleb Daniel, of course, has come in, so their transition game is getting better and better. They still do make mistakes, and hopefully we can pounce on those like we did against Essendon. But yeah, I mean, I think it was not the worst thing that they had a good win today, because if they got beaten up by Melbourne, you know, you could almost think that some of our boys would think it's just going to happen. The fact they won today probably helps our boys focus a bit more and realise that it's not going to come easy. So hopefully that's what we get. And I think I'm reasonably confident, but you know, we just got to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, because that's a recipe for disaster at this level. Back to you, Fee.
Brownie, what do you reckon?
I definitely, I'm a bit concerned, mainly just the midfield, as I think if we did happen to lose the game, the midfield's going to be crucial there. And yeah, how O'Brien's going to compete, if he could at least sort of nullify a bit. Apparently, I didn't see the game today, but apparently Gawn got a fair pasting from him. So if O'Brien can just, you know, get some body on and try and just nullify him to some degree, and then it's going to come down to us. Yeah, if we can just score off the turnovers again, keep the pressure up, I think we should win. But I think it's a real danger game because they're going to be up and about now.
Mac?
Yep. Well, I think that there's both the boys have summarised it very well. And, you know, one of the crucial factors is obviously in the centre of the ground with Zeri, who is obviously at the moment the best form ruckman in the competition. And not only does he tap the ball down, he's actually another on-baller as well, because he fights like hell with the ball on the ground. We'll have to, you know, I hope our coaches do some homework and set up so to neutralise that factor. Because we have to work on the fact we're not going to win taps. So therefore we're going to have to work out that Zeri's probably going to get the taps, and then we're going to have to work out how to neutralise that factor. So otherwise we'll be chasing backsides. But I think leaving that part out of it, and because that's a very dicey area, Big Man's quite right about if you've got Comben down back. I know he went all right today, but you know he's very dicey. But their biggest weapons are in the midfield. There's no doubt about that. And if they get on top there, then we could get beat. But I think that if we can neutralise it in the midfield at least, then we will definitely win the game. So it'll be a hard game to win, but I think I'm saying the Crows by about 15 to 21.
I think it's exactly the game that we need. North will be up and about. It was a good win against a recent premiership team, and a team of you know, some good quality players. So it's the game that we need to straighten us up. North are pretty much full strength, I think, and they're running on top of the ground. They have a very good midfield. They've got a couple of keys up forward, and they've got a good couple of blokes down back as well. So it won't be easy. North don't like Adelaide Oval, but they'd be looking to undo that hoodoo as much as we were looking to undo our hoodoo at the G. So I don't know whether that'll be that much of a factor, to be honest with you. Now, Mackie, you gave us a prediction and margin. Brownie, what's your prediction and margin
We go Crows by 30 points.
Big man.
I'll go Crows by 26. And also, just a quick note, I know he cops a bit of stick, but he's been a pretty damn good player for us, particularly for a rookie listed player who we picked up 12, 13 years ago, and that's Rory Laird. Plays his 250th this week, so best of luck to Lairdy, and hope he has a great game and hopefully gets the boys up.
Yep. Look, credit where it's due on Lairdy. He was a dual All-Australian halfback. Went into the midfield when we didn't have a midfielder, and he held that position to good effect for a long period of time. So, yes, he does cop a bit of flack, but he's been another one of these club stalwarts, and you can't begrudge him his 250th, so well done there. I reckon the Crows will come out firing for this one. I reckon that we'll see a little bit of a change in the way that we play, and I reckon we'll win by about 6 goals, about 36 points, I'll say.
That was
Very good.
Clean. As it went round, the margin grew.
Yeah, because you're just a bloody pessimist. Get on board.
No, really.
I was gonna say we're gonna lose, and then Animal came on, and that just changed the whole complexion of the podcast. So good on you, Animal. You got us all fired up. Look, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. It's been another fantastic cast. We've had fantastic numbers on YouTube and in Discord. Thanks to Animal for coming on. As I mentioned, don't forget to like and subscribe, and etc., etc., etc. Keep out for our pre-recorded content during the week. Until next Sunday, big man, farewell.
Thanks, Feen. Appreciate it. Thanks, boys.
Yep.
Brown man.
Yeah, good night, all.
I haven't said goodbye to you yet.
See you next week.
Oh,
Macca, thanks for coming.
yep. No, that's all right, Dean. Good night to you and Brownie and Big Man and all the people out there. Love you all.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Love you all.
Okay, love you all. See ya.